Hi friends, we are going to do another classic tale today, and this is a story that has been around for a long time, and I'm sure mom or dad or grandma and grandpa know the story, and it's a very popular and famous story, so we're going to talk about it. And today it's called The City Mouse and the Country Mouse. And this, friends, is a picture of what a city looks like. Now, if you've ever been to a big city, and Rochester is one, or New York City maybe, or Buffalo, it might look something like this. There's a lot of tall buildings, a lot of people on the streets walking, a lot of cars driving around and trucks. It's a very, very busy place. There's a lot of noise, but there's also a lot of things to do. You can walk to different stores. You don't have to drive everywhere. And there's just a lot of people going to one place to another. And that's what a city looks like. Now, a country looks more like this. And you can see that there's no tall buildings. There's hardly any cars. There might be a car somewhere. You don't see any people walking around. You see cows. People live in the country. That's where people live in all these houses. But there's not many houses, is there? And there's probably not many people living in them. So it's very wide open, a lot of green, a lot of trees and grass, not a lot of buildings, and not a lot of noise. It's going to be very quiet in the country. So those are the different types of places that people live. I mean, there's other places too. These are the extremes, the city and the country. All right, so let's start our story about City Mouse and Country Mouse. Okay, let me get this picture for you. Once upon a time, there were two mice who were cousins. One mouse lived in a small, simple house in the country. The other mouse lived in a large, stylish house in the city. One day, the city mouse went to visit his cousin in the country. The country mouse was very happy to see the city mouse. He invited his cousin to stay for dinner. All right. Let me just move this so I can read it over here. All right, let's get to the next picture here. The country mouse pulled two silver thimbles up to a spool of thread. The thimbles and spool of thread became two chairs and a table. He set the table with two acorn caps and a little birthday cake candle. He served a simple meal. They ate ripe peas and corn. As they were eating, the city mouse became less cheerful. Suddenly he said, "Dear cousin, however do you put up with such plain food?" The country mouse was thoughtful for a moment. Then he replied, "My apologies, cousin, but this is what we eat most of our time in the country." Do you think that the city mouse liked the food that he was being served in the country? I don't know. He said it was so simple and plain. That makes it sound like he didn't really like it. The city mouse promptly invited the country mouse to come with him to the city. "Just wait until you taste the wonderful foods we have in the city," he said. "I can assure you, you will not want to return to the country." Wow. So now the country mouse is going to go to visit his cousin in the city. So the city mouse and the country mouse set off. They scampered through the fields and the neighborhoods and into the city. They arrived late that evening. The country mouse saw immediately that his cousin lived in a very grand house, a very big house. "Shh," said the city mouse as they entered the house through a little hole in the wall. "We don't want anyone to hear us." The city mouse led the way as he dashed from room to room, making sure no one was there. Okay, next page. I gotta turn my book here. Finally, feeling safe, he waved his arm and invited his country cousin into a large dining room. Once there, they ran up the leg of a huge dining table. The remains of somebody's magnificent feast still lay spread out on the table. They had left behind their silverware, and that's their utensils, their crystal glasses, their napkins, and a lot of their delicious food. "This is how we eat every day in the city," said the city mouse. The country mouse could hardly believe it. There was so much fancy food. There were bunches of fresh green grapes left behind. There were even slices of a delicious chocolate cake with luscious icing. There was more food than the country mouse had ever seen before. The two mice got busy nibbling away. "Delicious," munched the country mouse. "I have never eaten such fine food." Then both mice stopped in the middle of a bite. They heard loud growls, snarls, and hisses nearby. What do you think they hear? What could be hissing and growling? Well, think about it, friends. They're sitting on a table eating food. Who else might be in the room besides people? Maybe a dog. Good one. "Quick, follow me," yelled the city mouse. I don't think it's a dog. I think maybe it's a cat. He scampered to the floor with his cousin right behind him. At that very moment, an angry-looking cat raced into the dining room. The two mice ran for their lives. They escaped just in time, dashing through a small hole in the wall. "Whew, that was close," said the city mouse. "We'll wait here until they leave. Then we can finish our meal." But the country mouse was so frightened he couldn't reply. He had never been in such danger before. He thought about his simple house in the country. He realized how much better he liked it there. He decided that it was time to go home. So the city mouse doesn't mind running away from the cat and sneaking around the house because the food is really good. But the country mouse doesn't want to do all that. He just wants to be left alone and to be safe. The country mouse did not even say goodbye to his cousin. He picked up his belongings and scampered out of the city house. He ran all the way home to the country, where he felt safe and happy. The moral of the story is, there's no place like home. The end. Each of the mice felt more comfortable in their own home and with the things they're used to eating. And even though they thought their life was better than the other person's life, each of them liked their own life the best, and they didn't like the other person's. So just be happy with what you got, I guess. All right, friends, thanks for listening. Bye.